Avoid Martin. Finally, nearly 15 seconds after the accident starts, Renshaw is unable to avoid the stationary car. Now, like the others, Renshaw clearly had no idea.
This is half an hour of the most devastating and gruesome NASCAR crashes in history. The moments that took the lives of outstanding drivers and forever changed the safety standards of American stock car racing. Don MacTavish was born in 1940 in Dover, Massachusetts, and quickly became one of New England's most recognizable short-track racing talents. He began racing at just 15 years old at Norwood Arena and soon gained attention not only for his stock car skill, but also for his demolition derby appearances on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Throughout the early 1960s, MacTavish steadily climbed the racing ladder, competing in NASCAR's late-model sportsman division, which is now known as the Xfinity Series. His breakthrough season came in 1966 when he won the NASCAR National Sportsman Championship. That year, he competed in an astonishing 122 races, scoring 8,968 points and collecting multiple victories at tracks such as Norwood Arena, Utica, Rome, Albany, Saratoga, and Trenton. By the end of the decade, he was widely considered one of the brightest young drivers in the Northeast and was eager to make the leap to NASCAR's top level. In February 1969, MacTavish traveled to Daytona Beach, Florida for Speed Weeks. On February 22nd, he entered the Permatex 300, a major NASCAR sportsman division race held at Daytona International Speedway the day before the Daytona 500. Driving the number 5 1966 Mercury Comet owned by Gene White, MacTavish faced a competitive field that included pole sitter Donnie Allison and Leroy Yarbrough, along with established veterans like Tiny Lund. Tragically, on the 9th lap of the Permatex 300, MacTavish's Mercury made contact with Bob James and spun out of control. His car slammed into the outside wall at a point where a guardrail met the concrete barrier. The crippled car spun to a stop broadside in the middle of the track, leaving MacTavish exposed inside. Moments later, Sam Summers, unable to see clearly through smoke and debris, crashed into the wrecked car at full speed.
A tragic accident took place on the speedway. The cars were coming around the fourth turn when suddenly MacTavish's number 5, a 1966 Comet, went out of control. Rammed the outside wall, the engine and transmission was torn out of the car, and it spun then wildly down the track as you see here. Coming along was Stan Summers of Savannah in car 27, who hit the car head-on, sending it into the infield. Summers was not injured, nor was Hank Thomas in car 92, who was also involved. But unfortunately, Don MacTavish lost his life in this crash.
The collision sheared off the entire front end of the Mercury up to the firewall and hurled the engine approximately 100 feet away from the chassis. The second impact sent the remains of the Mercury tumbling into the infield grass. Don MacTavish was killed instantly. He was just 28 years old, and his death ended the promising career of a driver who had been on the verge of reaching NASCAR's highest ranks. The incident contributed to broader safety discussions in the late 1960s, accelerating scrutiny of barrier designs at superspeedways, where guardrails met concrete walls. Carlos Pardo was a 33-year-old Mexican stock car racer who rose to prominence as the inaugural champion of the NASCAR Mexico Corona Series in 2004. Over his career, Pardo won 10 races and earned 8 poles in the Mexico Series. He was a respected veteran of the Corona circuit, Mexico's top stock car division, and also made a handful of starts in U.S. events, including ARCA and one nationwide series race during the mid-2000s. By 2009, Pardo was the team leader of motorcraft racing and one of the series' top drivers. On June 14, 2009, during the 4th event of the NASCAR Mexico Series at Autódromo Miguel E. Abed in Amozoc, Puebla, Pardo started from the last row and was leading the field with just 4 laps remaining. As he entered Turn 3 on lap 97, teammate Gehrke attempted an inside pass. Pardo moved to block Götters, and the 2 cars made contact. Pardo's car spun and slid sideways into a concrete retaining wall at about 120 miles per hour.
Si va a haber bandera blanca, ¡ahí le pegan a Carlos Pardo! No, qué golpe, eso no se vale.
Se acaba de dar un golpe
eso
en la
no
parte,
se
en la
vale,
parte de atrás.
eso no se vale. Carlos Pardo pegó a más de 200.
Even though water-filled barrels had been placed against the wall to cushion impacts, Pardo's car disintegrated upon hitting the wall. Emergency crews rushed to the scene. Reporters later noted that it took more than 12 minutes to cut Pardo from the wreckage. Pardo was airlifted by helicopter to a nearby hospital, but he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The race was immediately red-flagged, and Pardo, who had led the last fully completed lap, was declared the winner even as he lost his life. He beat Gehrke by a mere 0.044 seconds, the margin he held when the accident occurred. After the crash, no major safety overhauls were publicly announced for the Mexico series. Commentators criticized the rigid concrete wall, despite water barrels, as lethal, prompting calls for better barriers at Mexican tracks, though specific changes were not widely reported. Ralph Dale Earnhardt was an American stock car racing legend and team owner, nicknamed the Intimidator. He was a 7-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion and had 76 career Cup victories, driving the number 3 Goodwrench Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. On February 18, 2001, in the final lap of the Daytona 500 at Daytona Beach, Florida, Earnhardt was involved in a multi-car crash. After racing for the lead, his car made contact with Sterling Marlin and then Ken Schrader near the finish line, sending Earnhardt's car into the outside concrete wall in turn 4. Earnhardt's car hit the wall head-on. He suffered a fatal basilar skull fracture in the impact after his head violently snapping forward and hit the steering wheel.
Car-length lead over Earnhardt Jr. to 3. Michael Waltrip showing the muscle. Everything stacks up from third on back. Dale Earnhardt gets turned sideways. He'll take Schrader. Earnhardt and Schrader are in the wall. Waltrip leads off 4.
Coming down to the finish, though, it is Michael Waltrip trying to hold off Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 463 tries. Finally, Michael Waltrip is going to win a NASCAR Winston Cup race, winning the Daytona 500, the biggest of them all. Dale Earnhardt.
Seconds later, his driver, Michael Waltrip, won the race, with Waltrip's teammate and Earnhardt's son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., finishing second. Earnhardt was pronounced dead at the Halifax Medical Center at 5:16 p.m. The official cause of death was a basilar skull fracture. It's a fatal break at the base of the skull, caused by blunt force trauma to the head after his restraint system likely failed and unable to hold him steady in the crash. Some reports said that the impact bent the steering wheel. Additionally, Earnhardt refused to wear a head and neck safety device, or HANS device, after finding it restrictive and uncomfortable. Also, that device wasn't mandatory in NASCAR at the time. Many experts believe it would have saved his life. After Earnhardt's passing, there were a number of news briefings in the days. Then, angry fans sent hate mail and death threats to driver Sterling Marlin and his family, but Waltrip and Earnhardt Jr. released him from any liability. Russell Phillips, a 26-year-old racer known as Bubby, was running in the NASCAR Sportsman Division at Charlotte Motor Speedway. A volunteer firefighter and church youth minister from Mint Hill, North Carolina, he was a polite, kind-hearted local driver on the rise. The 67-lap Winston 100 had originally been scheduled for Wednesday night, but Hurricane Opal forced a postponement to Friday. Phillips had earned the pole position on Tuesday, his first career pole at Charlotte, and celebrated the milestone. Just hours before the race, he told reporters, "I was just hoping to qualify in the top 5 so I wouldn't have to work through a lot of traffic." On lap 17, with Phillips running in 10th place, disaster struck in turn 4. Ahead, cars driven by Joe Gehrke and Morris Bice spun out of control on the apron. Driver Stephen Howard swerved high to avoid them, but Phillips, directly behind, had no time to react. His left front struck Howard's right rear, and the contact, combined with Howard's momentum up the banking, sent both cars airborne into the steel catch fence. Phillips's Oldsmobile flipped onto its right side and slammed roof first into the fence.
Russell Phillips was killed when his car was forced up into the wall as an accident unfolded in front of him. 26 years old. ESPN sends its condolences to the family and friends.
Phillips, the pole sitter, crashed into the retaining wall in turn 4. The impact of
A caution light support pole tore straight through the roof, shearing off the entire metal top and roll cage structure in an instant. When the car righted itself and slid to a stop in the infield grass, the cockpit was exposed through a gaping hole where the roof had been. Witnesses described the horrific aftermath. Phillips' body was mutilated by the fence, with his helmet and personal effects scattered hundreds of yards down the track. Some reports noted that one of his arms was found on the catch fence, and his helmet, still containing his head, was located on pit road. The crash exposed critical safety flaws. Sportsman cars at the time had no mandatory roof support bar. This tragedy was the third fatal incident in the division at Charlotte in just 6 years. Deeming it intolerable, track president Humpy Wheeler and Charlotte Motor Speedway discontinued sportsman division races after 1995, replacing them with ARCA events starting in 1996. Eric Martin was a Tennessee stock car racer who moved up through local and short track series into the ARCA Remax, a NASCAR feeder series. In 2002, he ran 40 ARCA races in car owner Wayne Hickson's team, finishing 20th in the final points standings. Martin was 33 years old, married with 2 children, and had recorded many top 20 finishes in ARCA events. On October 9, 2002, during a practice session for the ARCA season-ending Easy Care 100 race at Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina, Martin spun exiting turn 4 and collided with the wall. He radioed his crew that he was all right after the impact. Around 8 to 16 seconds later, just as Martin was unbuckling his belts, fellow driver Deborah Renshaw, unaware of Martin's stopped car, came around the turn at roughly 160 miles per hour and struck Martin's car on the driver's side, killing him instantly from internal injuries. The crash was caught on camera so clearly.
As Martin's battered car slid to a stop off turn 4, the track caution lights came on at start-finish. The next 3 cars on the scene are all traveling at high speed, yet they managed to avoid Martin. Finally, nearly 15 seconds after the accident starts, Renshaw is unable to avoid the stationary car. Now, like the others, Renshaw clearly had no idea the car was there. On Saturday, NASCAR announced a new rule calling for spotters to be in their designated stand every time cars are on track.
The disaster resulted in criticism of both ARCA and Renshaw. ARCA faced criticism because its rules did not mandate the stationing of spotters atop the grandstands. Since Renshaw's spotter perched atop the team trailer, he was unable to witness the wreck and tell his driver where it was. Renshaw herself was blamed for failing to notice the car stopped on the racing line until it was much too late to prevent the deadly crash, although other cars with spotters in similar positions were able to see Martin in time and slow down significantly before missing him. The Martin accident had an immediate impact on safety protocols. NASCAR, which sanctions ARCA events, announced that all teams in NASCAR's National Series would be required to have a spotter stationed high on the grandstand or spotter tower whenever cars were on track. Bobby Myers was born in 1927 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and became a respected figure in Southern stock car racing during the 1950s. Myers soon transitioned into NASCAR's Grand National Series, making his debut in 1951 at the age of 24. Over the next several years, he competed in 15 Grand National events and earned 3 top 10 finishes. Although he never secured a cup-level victory, he proved himself competitive in demanding endurance races such as the Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway and events at Langhorne Speedway. By 1957, Myers was driving the number 4 Oldsmobile for Petty Enterprises, one of the most respected teams in the sport, owned by Lee Petty. On September 2, 1957, Myers lined up on the front row for the Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway in South Carolina. The race was one of NASCAR's most grueling events, known for its high speeds, steep banking, and abrasive surface that punished both drivers and equipment. That year's field featured top competitors, including Speedy Thompson, who would eventually win the race, along with Cotton Owens, Paul Goldsmith, Fonty Flock, and Curtis Turner. Myers started second in the prestigious Labor Day Classic. However, just 27 laps into the 500-mile race, something went wrong on the backstretch. Fonty Flock, driving a Pontiac for Herb Thomas, lost control and spun, coming to rest broadside across the track just before turn 3. Myers, who was reportedly checking Paul Goldsmith in the mirror, did not see Flock's crashed car in time to avoid it. He crashed head-on into Flock's car. Almost immediately, Goldsmith also collided with both of them.
Fonty Flock and Thomas's car spins out at the end of the backstretch. He's broadside to the oncoming traffic, bearing down on him at 115 miles an hour. The leaders are coming around at top speed. Look out! Bobby Myers and Paul Goldsmith slam into the stalled car. The cars are thrown 200 feet by the impact.
The impact launched Myers' Oldsmobile into the air, flipping it end over end and sending it barrel rolling across the track. Myers was trapped inside and killed instantly. Paul Goldsmith suffered serious injuries but survived, while Fonty Flock was so badly hurt that his racing career ended. Bobby Myers' death highlighted the extreme dangers of stock car racing in an era when safety equipment and track protections were minimal. Post-1957 fatalities, including Myers, accelerated incremental upgrades such as stronger roll bars by late 1950s and fuel cell rules after other fires, but no documented rule explicitly credits his crash. Gary Batson was a 40-year-old amateur racer from Travelers Rest, South Carolina, known locally as a restaurateur and barbecue enthusiast, as well as a short-track driver. A former high school and college footballer, he owned the Gary Batson Feed Store restaurant and raced weekly for years at the Greenville Pickens Speedway near his hometown. By 1992, Batson had begun moving up from local short-track racing into NASCAR's developing sportsman division, an exhibition series at Charlotte Motor Speedway using older Winston Cup cars. He had no record of starts in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series itself, but competed in the Charlotte Sportsman races. Batson's car was a prior Philip Ross wreck repaired by Lawrence Ledford's team. The fatal accident occurred on May 15, 1992, at Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina. It happened during a last-chance qualifying heat around lap 4, exiting turn 4 for a support race called the Winston Sportsman 100. As Batson and Neil Connell exited one of the high-speed turns, their cars made contact with each other as Connell tried to avoid a two-car crash. Connell's number 88 Chevrolet and Batson's number 96 Chevrolet Monte Carlo made contact, shoving Batson's car onto its side and into the outside wall. Batson's car then slid along the wall and burst into flames when fuel spilled along the track.
Number 60 is Gary Everett. He is battling William Metzger of Deer Park, New York for the lead. The car gets a bit loose on Everett and then comes around. Behind him, drivers take evasive action. In one of the strangest accidents we've ever witnessed, Neil Cannell gets up and into Gary Batson, whose car rides along the top of the wall, and fuel spilling from
The fuel spill fire stemmed from a faulty gas cap mechanism that failed to seal due to the shallow impact angle. Connell emerged uninjured and was quickly evacuated and found to be unhurt, but Batson was trapped in his car. Batson survived the initial crash, but suffered burn injuries. He also remained conscious through the rescue. He was rushed to a local hospital and then airlifted to UNC Hospital's burn unit in Chapel Hill, but he succumbed to his injuries roughly 15 hours later on Saturday, May 16, 1992. Chris Gehrke was an American stock car racing driver whose career trajectory suggested a bright future. A native of Lincoln, Illinois, Gehrke first made his mark in open-wheel competition, winning the 1988 Spokane Grand Prix and finishing third in the SCCA Star Mazda Series standings that same year. His transition to stock cars proved equally promising. By 1989, he was competing full-time in the ARCA Permatex Supercar Series, narrowly missing Rookie of the Year honors and finishing 7th in the final standings. In 1990, driving a Venturini Motorsports-prepared Chevrolet, Gehrke elevated his performance even further, finishing 4th in ARCA points with 5 top 5 and 11 top 10 finishes, including a strong second-place run at Toledo Speedway. Known for his smooth driving style and adaptability on both superspeedways and short tracks, Chris Gehrke entered the 1991 season widely regarded as one of ARCA's most promising young drivers. On April 4, 1991, Gehrke competed in the Poulon Pro 500K at Talladega Superspeedway, the 2.6-mile high-banked tri-oval in Alabama. The race was the 4th event of the 1991 ARCA season and featured tightly bunched racing typical of Talladega. On lap 67, Gehrke's Oldsmobile was involved in a developing multi-car incident on the front stretch. Flipped once, then came down broadside and slid sideways, leaving it exposed in the middle of the track. Several drivers narrowly avoided the wreck, but Carl Miscotton Jr., with little time to react, slammed nearly head-on into the left rear of Gehrke's car at a speed of 170 to 180 miles per hour. The impact inflicted massive head trauma on Chris Gehrke. He was quickly extracted and transported to Caraway Methodist Medical Center in Birmingham, where surgeons attempted emergency procedures to relieve pressure on his brain. Despite their efforts, Gehrke never regained consciousness and was pronounced dead 3 days later in the morning. He was only 25 years old. Talladega officials noted that he became the 4th ARCA driver to lose his life at the speedway, underscoring the inherent dangers of superspeedway pack racing. While no single equipment failure was blamed, ARCA representatives emphasized the violent chain reaction nature of the crash, with Gehrke's car airborne and sideways amid oncoming traffic. Gehrke's crash was part of the broader pattern that eventually convinced NASCAR to use head and neck restraints. John Delphus McDuffie Jr., better known as J.D. McDuffie, represented a very different side of NASCAR. Born in 1938, McDuffie built his career not with major sponsorship or factory support, but through grit and independence. Debuting in 1963, he competed in 653 NASCAR Cup Series races over 28 years, almost always as an owner-driver of his number 70 Pontiac. Unlike superstars such as Dale Earnhardt, McDuffie never won a Cup race, yet he earned 106 top 10 finishes and once started from the pole at Dover in 1978. His best career finish was 3rd place in 1971. Often towing his own car to tracks and working with a small crew, McDuffie became known as one of the last true independents in NASCAR. On August 11, 1991, McDuffie competed in the Budweiser at the Glen at Watkins Glen International in New York. The road course, known for its long straights and high-speed turns, presented unique challenges for stock cars. Just 5 laps into the race, something went wrong exiting turn 4. The left front wheel spindle broke off on McDuffie's Pontiac, causing the wheel to detach and eliminating his braking and steering control at nearly 160 miles per hour. His car veered off course and slammed head-on into the tire barrier and guardrail at turn 5. The hard impact caused the car to flip and land upside down.
5, headed for turn number 6. Speed increasing once again. 2nd gear.
And here's trouble, big trouble here in turn 5.
Oh, a car is upside down.
Bob, there are 2 cars. They came in here so fast.
J.D. McDuffie and Jimmy Means involved. This is McDuffie, the wheel already off the car, sliding off the track into the grass. He makes hard contact with that tire barrier in turn number 5. Then the car overturns.
McDuffie suffered a fatal basilar skull fracture due to deceleration force and was pronounced dead at the scene. Fellow driver Jimmy Means, who had also been involved in the incident, attempted to assist as emergency crews rushed in, and the race was red flagged for nearly 2 hours. McDuffie's death prompted safety changes, particularly at Watkins Glen International. Track officials installed a bus stop chicane on the backstretch before turn 5 the following year to slow cars before they reached the high-speed section where the crash occurred. While NASCAR did not immediately mandate head and neck restraints, the accident reinforced growing concerns about basilar skull fractures and driver protection. Over time, improvements in car design, barrier technology, and restraint systems addressed many of the vulnerabilities exposed by crashes like McDuffie's.